Hey everyone, welcome back to our virtual reality world. We are back at the bottom of the sea at some 3,800 meters down, right in front of the wreckage of Titanic. Last time we took a little tour towards the Marconi Wireless Room. We explored that area. We also went by the bridge. We saw some other spots, but today we're going to do something very exciting. We're going to explore a part of the ship which I haven't actually explored myself, so I'm going to take you with me on that experience. We are going to slowly make our way towards the wreck, as I'm going to talk you through where exactly we're going. As you can see by the thumbnail of this video, there is a very large sort of gap in the side of Titanic. The bow section, as she hit the bottom, she buckled, and right at the area where she buckled, the hull started deforming outwards. There is a noticeable bulge on the outside of the ship now, and by the looks of it, you can actually go into the wreck via that bulge. And I'm not quite sure how detailed the interior is in this virtual experience. I'm not sure how many rooms they've actually modelled, but we're going to find out because it definitely looks something. It should hold something interesting. The opening is right nearby the mail rooms, so those were quite an important part of the wreck. There she is. Hang on, let's go up and let's aim our spotlight at the wreck. There she is, just like last time. We are on her port side at the moment, but we are going to turn around, pass by this side, and instead of going over the bow section, we are now going to follow her side, her starboard side. It's beautiful. It's hauntingly beautiful, but at the same time, it is incredibly freaky, very scary. Just, seeing parts of the wreck just loom up out of the darkness. It's a very surreal experience to be able to sort of see all of this in VR. We are going to move up slightly. Right, so there you can see that's where the forecastle ends. You can see the railing right up there. It sort of bends down, and just beyond that, by her well deck, we should be hitting that bulge I was talking about. There we are, look at that. I'm going to aim our spotlight at it. There it is. There it is. Yeah, so just to give you guys an idea, we are at the well deck, which is the bit where the deck sort of drops in a little bit after the forecastle, where the cargo cranes are. And just beyond that cargo crane, that's the large structure in front of us, would be the bridge. So that's right around where we are. And this is what I was talking about. This bit right here is where the hull plating sort of buckled outwards as she hit the seabed. You can see the hull plating is completely detaching from the wreck. And by the look of it, let's very slowly try to get closer. Yeah, there's definitely something in there. Look down at the bottom. Can you see that? Yeah, we're going in. We are definitely going in here. So I'm going to position our submarine like so that hopefully we get a bit of lighting from it. Because, the ROV is not going to provide much lighting. Let me just readjust my headset. Right, so this is going to be scary again. We're going to take our ROV and make our way inside. Oh dear. There we are. Yep. There we are. You can see our shadow. So you can see that the entire hull plating is it's separated from the hull, from the framing. Shall we go down first, see what's down here? Right. So this is as far down as we can go. And some of you, by the looks of it, may have an idea of what this room is or was. But for those who don't know, this was the mail sorting room. And you may think, what would a mail sorting room be doing on an ocean liner? Well, Titanic, her full name, her full designation was RMS Titanic. RMS standing for Royal Mail Ship. She was designated to carry mail post from, well, between the UK and Europe and the United States. So she had a full postal complement on board, a mail sorting room, storage for lots and lots of post and packages that would be sent across the Atlantic. Which, by then, although they had radio, but most messages were still sent by mail. So this is the mail sorting room. Look at that. With a staircase leading up. Now, this room would have been... What's in here? Hang on, what's in here? Nothing. Okay, it's just a room. So this room right here would have been one of the first places where members of the crew noticed water coming in after hitting the iceberg. This room was right above one of the impact points of the iceberg. Now we are just about at the bottom of the ocean. This is just about the seabed right here. And the deck below is where she got damaged. Sadly, all of the puncture points, all of the impact evidence, the evidence of the impact of the iceberg, is below the sand, so we can't actually see that. But as the water rose, this was one of the first rooms where that was actually evident. And as the water started rising, the mail clerks who were working here, they had to rescue all the mail that was in here, because they were responsible for the mail. And in those days, the mail was a very sort of a very important organization, and tampering with mail, and also that was it was a serious responsibility to be in charge of mail. So the clerks that were working here started bringing up sacks of mail up to the next deck, which we are going there in a bit, but they started carrying up sacks of mail. And just as they were done, I believe they carried up some 150 sacks of mail by hand. They sort of hauled it up these stairs. And just as they were done doing that, the next deck started flooding, so they had to abandon that room, and all the mail was lost anyway. But that was a very valiant effort. So this room right here, there is a doorway forward. And this is probably, this is one of the cargo hatches. One of the, this goes all the way up towards the deck. And this was used to lower cargo. And these are, these doors right here. They would lower the sacks of mail and they would carry them into the post office, basically. Let's see what's around here. This would probably be just cargo space. Another stair going up. Let's see if there is anything interesting around here. I'm actually not sure if the mail clerks, the mail complement, managed to get off board. I don't know if any of them survived. I doubt it, because, by far most of the people saved were passengers, and then a surprising amount of crew died. Most of the crew by far died. To get an idea, there were 35 engineers on board Titanic, and all of them died. I mean, they stayed behind in boiler room number 5, I think, to keep the lights on. So they knew what they were doing. They knew they were not getting off the ship, but still, all of them died, which is, quite remarkable. Let's go forward and see what's in here. So yeah, this is I think the number 2 hatch, cargo hatch. Goes all the way up, and this is where more cargo was stored. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the hold where the motor car would be in. I think it was a Renault that was being transported by Titanic. And this is where motor cars would have been stored on board Titanic. Now, there is, I believe, another level of cargo further down below. I think. So that may be where that car is. You know, as it happens, we've never been able to find the car. We know that there was one down here, but it's in a part of the ship that's inaccessible at the moment. Perhaps, you know, the ship is deteriorating. Perhaps as she is deteriorating further, perhaps at one point we will be able to find the car. Which is, you know, it's not very important, but it would be nice. See if there is a handprint on the foggy window. Right, so that was the forward cargo area. Or cargo hold number 2, I think. We are back in the mail room, the sorting room. And we should... Yeah, there it is. A set of stairs. Let's go up here and see what else we can find. I'm actually surprised at how much of the ship is accessible in here. The designers of the game did a really great job. Right, so this is another part of the mail sort of complex on board Titanic. This bit right here would have been a hoist where they could use an electric winch. This one right here. I think it would have been slightly smaller, but a winch to hoist up sacks of mail. You know, they weren't meant to carry them up these stairs all the time, which is quite a luxury, actually. You know, given that even a single hoist, a simple hoist, would require steam power and electricity and all that. And in these days, that was quite a luxury for the workers here. So right here we have, you know, that bulge again, where the hull plating separated from the hull. There's a submarine. And this right here, I am not quite sure why this was barred off. There is a gate in front of it. Perhaps this was for important mail, perhaps for governments or, you know, politicians or whatever. I suspect it was something like that. I have the deck plans of Titanic. I can just go and have a look. What's in there? Actually, as I'm thinking of editing these videos so that whenever I enter a new room, I'll sort of indicate on those deck plans where we are. So right here, we are again in that cargo shaft. Right underneath us were those doors. This is the second level. That's the outside of the ship. Let's go towards here. I am actually very curious to see how much of the ship is accessible. And, you know, it's important to bear in mind that this is a game, you know, and the people who designed this model for us to explore, they had to work off footage of the real wreck. And I believe most of this has actually been explored by ROVs in real life. This just goes down to where we were earlier on in the cargo hold. I believe much of this area has been explored, but still, you know, they had to work off photographs and film to recreate as much as they could. So it may not be 100% you know, accurate, but by the looks of it, they've got it pretty darn close to what it looks like in real life. So I am curious. I am going to include the deck plans. I need to learn how to pronounce that properly in the edit of this video, so you can actually see how realistic it is. So this door is closed. I'm going to back up slightly, but possibly we can use the cargo shaft My pronunciation is all over the place today. Move up a deck. And with some luck, this should lead us back to... Yeah, there we go. So if I'm not mistaken, some of these quarters, because these would have been quarters, I think, were for the mail clerks. The personnel in charge of the mail. Yeah, there we are. There's our submarine. I believe it's actually this room right here. I think this would have been it. Look at that. You can see my hands. That's fun. Right. So we've gone up 2 decks from where we came in. 1, 2, 3. This is the 3rd deck. And you know, this is absolutely terrifying. We're on the outside. It's really scary. Scary stuff.